What's going on, y'all? This is the Pull Up Experience, guys. Episode 83. Tonight, we have my man Cellini tonight. Stand Up Cellini is on tonight. He's going to tell us one of the great things that he's been able to take his circumstance, not let it be the defining moment of who he is, and how since incarceration, how he's been able to pursue everything from business to personal pursuits in the meantime. And also tonight, y'all, we got my special guest host, my man Cam. If y'all don't know Cam was on episode. Ooh, that was in the back, Cam. That was like episode 18.
That was a while ago. It was in the beginning, man.
Man. And tonight we got episode 83, my man Cellini. So I want to appreciate you coming on tonight, Cellini, man. So let the people know about you, man.
Well, I'm born and raised in Akron, Ohio. Single parent. Grew up like a lot of people from my background. Gravitated towards the street. Went through the juvenile system. Graduated to the adult prison system. Eventually, I ended up catching a 19-year sentence. Did every day of it. While I was doing the 19-year sentence, I was able to publish 3 books and release an album, a compilation album. Wrote for magazine articles, did a blog, a variety of things. But I grew, found myself, found out who I was. And that's what, since I've been home, I just been continuing that, living in my truth and trying to inspire other brothers, with some of the same experiences, to go on living their truth.
Absolutely, man. So let me ask you this, man, because I didn't know that you did all that while still in prison, man. Tell me what kept you motivated? Cause I know talking to people who've been in prison before, like it all depends on your mindset, what dictates your time there or whatnot. What kept you motivated despite, seeing your circumstances while being in there?
I wanted my life to count for something. I said, this can't be the end. I just had that mind set, man, this can't be the end. And, one of the things, when I decided I would have to make the transition, I had to dig in. I had to be an archaeologist and dig inside myself and figure out, okay, what is it that I really like about the streets? I started off mimicking, all my male figures were people who went to prison. I went through photo albums, if prison pictures in there as a kid. So I couldn't wait to get to prison. I looked at it as a rite of passage because every male figure in my life, from my granddaddies to my daddy to my uncles, cousins, they all went to prison. So, when we grow up, we mimic. That's what boys do before we forge our own identity. But in reality, I never got a chance to forge my identity because I mimicked them and then I just continued on with it. So who I really was got buried up under that. And, once I got to prison, I was in Lucasville and I was in the hole. And I asked myself, how did I get to this place? How did I get here? And that started the process of digging up and really going into myself, with a light. It's kind of like going in the attic of your house and, with a flashlight. And I looked at what was it about the streets that, made the leaving the streets so hard. And one of the things I came to realize was that it was the juice that you acquire in the streets. You attain a certain level of status in that world. And who wants to go to the other world and become a nobody? So I had to find something where I would feel that same level of self-worth, but not having to do anything self-destructive. And that was this process with writing. When I published my first book and just going to the mailroom and holding it in my hands, it was like holding your first child. And it was like, getting on the phone. And I remember I was in Grafton in the visiting room and a lady was down there seeing her son, and somebody, her son pointed out that I was the guy who wrote that book that she had in her car. And she walked up to me, she walked up to the CO, said, hey, can I go get this book, get him to sign it? You know, and that was the first time I was like, wow, like I'm really getting recognized for something that's coming from within. And, you know, once you build that momentum, man, I just kept looking for other mountains to climb. You know, it was, you know, kind of like the same way the momentum that lead you to the streets. It went the other direction.
That's dope, man. That's dope. I love how, well, you said a lot, not a lot, but I want to break down what you said, because I think a lot of people might have overlooked a lot of key points you said. One, how we as Black males, how, once again, the persona of the street life is personified 10 times over, you know what I'm saying? But I like to think that the time that we're in now is, I want to say, a little bit different, you know what I'm saying, to a certain extent. But I know back in the day, I know growing up for me, same ordeal. I was an outcast, for real. Like, because I would be doing my own little nerd thing in the house, you know what I'm saying? But my cousins, my uncles and all them, they, you know what I'm saying, that was the life to live right there. And I think, and now I think about it like, dang, like when I think about a good portion of the males in my family, you know what I'm saying, been in prison, you know what I'm saying? But I love how you said you had to dig deep inside yourself. And I think one of the things that you said that stuck to me was how you said, the real me got buried underneath everything else that was, you know what I'm saying, that was put on top. And I think that's a great statement, because I think that helps a lot of us. You know, we all have to put on this persona, put on this face, put on this, you know, put on these things that aren't us, just to be able to reach this status in the world. And I think that we lose ourselves in the process. And I think we all got to do the due diligence of, like you said, being a person digging in and finding ourselves, man. So shout out to you, man. Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, I had a few questions for you. I definitely want to applaud you, because I definitely feel like I seen you and I never knew, you know, you was writing books and doing these things, man. So I applaud you that, especially, you know, being inside these walls, you ain't got as much resources. So to do that and then come on top of that, man, that's powerful, bro. Like, really, I applaud you for that. You said it shipped for you when you got the Luke. So it's kind of like a 3-part question. How far in the bid was you when that shift came? Why did you go in the first phase? Go ahead.
You said how far into the bid?
Yeah.
I hadn't even finished my gun spec. I was a little less than 3 years. Yeah, I was a little less than 3 years. And you know, that really severed that, you know, like, you know, the beginning, you still getting a little contact.
Yeah.
You know, you still, you know, they don't want to turn their back on you yet, all the way yet. But, you know, Lucasville, you get down to the bare minimum, man. Like you know, you can't get to that phone. You really, I mean, you cut off. And I've seen a lot of guys go crazy. I did the first 15 months in the hole, and I see a lot of guys go crazy because they had never actually dealt with themselves. They had never actually had to just be in the room with themselves 23 hours a day. And like I say, that's, for me, I rose to the occasion. You know, thankfully, you know, God had a plan for me. But I seen a lot of guys, they couldn't handle it, and you know, you saw them descend into just straight mental chaos.
Sure that.
So we talked about that. Let's talk about your transition. And one of the things that I love about what you do is that you're a reentry specialist or whatnot. So let's talk about your transition from when you got out to get into everything you pursue after that.
Well, one of the things that was a revelation to me, because when I was in there, I was always the guy that people will point out as a model of, you know, he didn't let prison take a look at him. You know, you know how we say he's not fried. You know, they couldn't believe I've been down so long. So it kind of, you know, you kind of get a little bit of arrogance about what the transition gonna be like. Because you're just like, oh yeah, it'll be a cakewalk. You know, because you get used to people saying, oh man, you're gonna be cool. But when I got out here, I realized that it does affect you, you know, and they've admitted it now. It's where you got post-incarceration syndrome. They now acknowledging that it does something to you. And I was dealing with anxiety and just different things. And I would talk to other brothers who did it, and they was dealing with the same thing. And once I say the love of my family, the woman who became my wife, like that support helped me get through that part of it. And so once I got past that, then I realized, like, okay, because at first I was trying to put the prison behind me on a certain extent. I didn't want to be that to be my calling card.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been to prison. I didn't want that to be what I leave with. So I kind of was trying to put it behind me, you know what I mean, on a certain extent, but I that element of service was missing from my life. And I said, you know what? I have to get back in there, get back in the trenches and help brothers coming after me. It's just because to whom much is given, much is required. So it just was, I had to do that, and that's when I said, okay, let's do this reentry. Let's get serious about this. And my brother Donovan Harris and Ruel Saylor, they had been telling me this. They said, bro, your story got the power to change people. You got the power. You can't run from that part of it. It's all a part of the whole story. So no matter how much you want to put that to the side, because prison makes you feel diminished on a certain level. So you feel, so you kind of want people, you fear that people won't accept you for who you are because you've been to prison. So you start wanting to, okay, let me put that to the side. But that's my truth, man. Like I can't, run from that. And I learned that, and now I have no problem with letting anybody, whoever, know my experience with it.
Yeah.
What would you tell like a young guy that's in the streets, that got the family, you feel me, that's been going through prison, that's all he got to look up to? What would you say to him? Like, what advice would you give him doing all that time?
First and foremost, find out who you really are. I mean, we gotta face, it's like we have a fear of acknowledging who we really are, so we try to cover it up with hyper masculinity and material wealth, and just it's like a lot of candy, but it's really at the core, we dealing with issues of low self-worth, because a sign of low self-worth is self-sabotage. And I mean, criminality is the epitome of self-sabotage. So but nobody wants to acknowledge that. Nobody wants to acknowledge the fears that we have as Black men. And I would, tell a brother, like, hey, find yourself now before you get so lost in the road that you plan that you don't know where to look for them.
You've seen it happen to so many guys being down there, catching life, and not knowing themselves, they get caught up in a lot of things and you can't get it back, man. And that's one thing I try to tell young people, talking to them, like, bro, you don't want to go down that path. Like, it look good now, it miss glamour and dough, but when you sit down, you're gonna see who really in your corner, and you're gonna see what life all about, because you really got to sit and really get to know yourself. But as you said before, some people don't want to face that darkness within themselves, man. So they'd rather just, I'm about to do my bid, man. I deal with it, and not being prepared coming home. I definitely applaud you for, having that preparation and that support. That support is real, though. If you ain't got that support when you come home, you kind of just lost. It's going back to where, what can I gravitate towards? What can I hold on to, man? I definitely applaud you for doing that, man. Like going to reentry part and getting that mental health aid, that responder. That's a key part. It's been coming up more frequently now. People talking about the trauma and really trying to identify what it is and them triggers. And it's so much that's built on there. And we need to unpack that, man. Like having good circles. Like I know you hit the Wall Street West, he do a lot of circles with Fred Ford. Yeah.
Oh, and listen. We come from next. We try to schedule him on the podcast too, man. So he next up.
Yeah, West. Yeah, that's
my guy.
Yeah, good dude, man. Good dude. That trauma be real though, man. Like in this, and they know they doing it as a system because they try so hard to trap us in there. And I don't know how it is in Akron, but I know in Cleveland, you know, they over-indict you just so you can take a plea deal. At one point in time, you know, Cleveland had a 97, 98% conviction rate. It was just piling, yeah, they shit as high as it's feds, and they start coming, you know, start hitting people for corruption. They start, I want to say, what, 2016 or 14, one of them years, they was doing a big sweep of all the judges, all the prosecutors, because they was doing corruption. But it's a money scheme. You know, every hit go down is 60,000 plus a year. So you got, you know, you do the math, man. You got 200 people on the pod, and it's 33 institutions in Ohio, 33 or 37, something. It's a crazy, you know, Ohio, like the top 5 of prisons in the country. So, you know, it's all a money grab, man. It's just about how do we break that cycle, man. And Sel, you definitely, you one of them people to show like you can break that cycle doing them 19 years and writing that book. What inspires you to write the book? Like I know you said you was in that dark space. Well, I never read your book. What's your book about?
The first book that I'm talking about is called The Invisible Chess Match.
Okay.
It's a series of essays, personal, political, you know. I was just sharing my mind. You know, I had it was 2 movies I saw that kind of inspired me to move that direction. I saw The Social Network and Inception. And it's something about, I like, the world really may have been made smaller because of social media. And one of the things I said, well, how can I get people familiar with my mind? And I picked that pen back up. And, you know, because it was like, man, I got to get, you know, to me, that was like, this is the most important book I'll ever write. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Because this is, you know, it was therapy for me. Yeah. And, you know, I dealt with having an absent father, you know, just all manner, you know, I dealt with it all. I just put it all out there. And one of the things I wanted to touch on, what you said about the financial part of this, is that, you know, a prison industrial complex, you know, sometimes when you know, the word industrial, that's capitalism. So, you know, once it's like, okay, let's take JPay. They do a contract with the state of Ohio. You say what is my customer base? 50,000. So they do their projections and financials based on a 50,000 customer base. So if the prison population drops to 40,000, then the state of Ohio has in essence breached the contract. So, you know, they can't, like, it's a game they play. They set up programs in there that they know don't work. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. But it's just a game. It's a game of charades because they know this stuff doesn't work. And why would it? I mean, a drug dealer doesn't take his main customer to rehab. Thanks. You know, it doesn't work like that. So that's one of the things, like when I was, you know, I started a program in there where I was dealing with brothers 18 to 24. And one of the things I would give them a copy, As a Man Thinketh, and then I would have them write their obituary. My whole thing was to facilitate them using their mind, because we already got the tools necessary to overcome this system. We just don't know how to use them. You know, it's kind of like sometimes we look at Africa and we see like the misuse of the resources. So other nations come pillage. You know, so we don't know how to use our greatest resource, which is our creativity. We the most creative group of people on earth. We don't know how to use that resource. So in essence, we just continue to bear these burdens through history. You know, so when you know, whether it's, you know, they got a healthcare industrial complex going on right now where they found a way to make money off us being unhealthy. You know, so we, you know, why our neighborhoods are food ghettos and, you know, food deserts, I mean, and stuff like that. Yeah. All of this stuff is connected. And that's the thing with the mental health component of this. You know, when you say mental illness, we think, you know, schizophrenia, you know, we think, you know, the most extreme thing. Right. But I'm saying that this mental, like a physical illness. You can develop diabetes based on your eating habits. You can develop lung cancer, heart disease based on your habits. I'm saying criminality is a mental illness, but it's been developed by these components that they've put in place. You know what I'm saying? The school systems and the absent, just a lot of these are creating these situations where we can look at another person that look like us and don't care about taking their life. We can put ourselves in situations where we may lose our life and we cool with it. We have a whole culture based on this, based on death. We rap about it. We go to funerals, we go to murder trial. I mean, all this stuff based on death, and we become desensitized to it. That's a mental illness.
Yeah.
Can I ask you something like piggybacking off of that? Damn, man, I just had it and I just lost it. I'm sorry. But it was talking about like the how it is now. Like, we desensitized with social media. It's so easy to get access to things, graphic videos where people getting their heads blow out. Little kid in Richmond Heights was doing this TikTok challenge to my nephew friend, blackout challenge, ended up killing himself. So I'm gonna ask you this. You did 19 years. What's the difference from back then when you was doing the streets to now in this generation?
It spirals out of control a lot faster. Another thing too, we've always had like beefs, neighborhood beefs. Yeah. We fight this neighborhood. When we was at single digits, we fight the people who live on the other side of the street. We fight the dudes on the next street over. But one of the things, the difference is, back when I was coming up, the beef would end with the murder. That would end it. They jumped your hood, you jumped them back, it escalated, somebody got killed, then that kind of ended the beef. Right. Now the beef starts with the murder and it keeps going. It's murder for murder. Because it's really a retaliation thing. Yeah. So now the thing has become, if you don't retaliate, like how it used to be, if you got robbed and didn't do nothing, you was pretty much, your street career was over with. Yeah. Now, if you lose a partner and you don't retaliate, it's, you know what I mean? And not with social media, it's more amplified. But they dissing the dead, they doing all this. I mean, it's these styles, this culture that is made it a lot more toxic. It's and it wasn't like that, back before I left. But social media has just, it has just amplified this and made everything a lot more toxic. It's more hatred, more malice, and it's all centered around death, unfortunately.
Or twerking. Death and twerking.
It's sex and violence.
Man, that's what's said.
It's so many things I want to unpack, man, because like both y'all helped me to a lot of things. I didn't know there was a complex. I knew, of course, jail produced a trauma, but I know I knew there was trauma after you go to war. There was trauma after you get, but there was trauma after a lot of things that cause trauma. But I never thought about there being trauma after you left from prison. You know what I'm saying? Which makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I never thought about it until y'all said it tonight, by the way.
I was in a circle. We was talking about the post-incarceration syndrome. And it's things that we do while we was incarcerated. I know for me, I came on for like the first 3 months. I used to wear my shower shoes in the shower. I'm moving on my mom. She's like, "Hey, bro, why you keep wearing them flip-flops in the shower?" I'm like, "Well, ma, being in the joint, you gotta have your shower shoes on. You want to walk around." Another dude say, the jingle and the keys used to trigger him. So somebody come around with keys, he'd be like, "Hey, bro, can you put your keys in your pocket?" I don't want to hear the jiggling side of it because it bring back when the CO is ready to pop the door. It's a real thing, man. And it's becoming more of a identified now because people are able to speak it and make it that platform. People like BFO with Fred Ward and people like Seb making it being known and putting it out there.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Fred Ward because he facilitated me being able to go to the Cleveland Clinic and become a mental health first responder.
Yeah, I'm one of those too. I got the daughter and the kids ones, man. Went through Fred though. He's definitely a good dude, man. Yeah. Great resources. He don't mind plugging people in, man, especially those that got that strike on them, man, that second-class citizenship.
Right.
I think another thing y'all said, and like, you know, everyone knows about business, but everyone's heard about jail, you know, the whole infrastructure behind it. But until Cellini said tonight, like, I didn't know they have quotas. Like, you know, we got, you know what I'm saying, at work, like my job, we got quotas we got to fill, we got payroll we got to make. It's certain numbers we got to hit for operations. And I never thought about that for a jail. So they have to, like you said, they have to have so many people in jail. I promise you, bro, I'm 35 years old. I never thought about that ever.
$1 billion industry.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. When Lake Erie first opened, it was you know, it was private, and they wouldn't send older inmates down there because they require health care, and that cuts into profit margins. So they were sending all young dudes down there, and it turned into like a battlefield. You know what I mean? But they were making decisions. It was based on the bottom line. They was not sending really anybody over 30 years old down there because typically once you get older, you require some form of health care, and that cuts in the profit margins.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And I did have a question from, I was going to ask a question from earlier. Now, one of the things you were talking about how, while I'm pretty sure you're able to look inside yourself, what I know, I love how you said when you would had your group inside prison, you had them read As a Man Thinketh and had to write their obituaries. What tools would you recommend for a young man who needs looking inward, but doesn't have necessarily the tools to, you know, go to a therapist, you know what I'm saying, or don't have that support system? What would you recommend to them? What tools and what resources per se?
A book. A book. I mean, I remember I was like 16. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Man,
and
that's one.
One of the things I always remember was all those phases he went through.
Yeah.
And, you know, each phase, though, he got more, he continued to elevate. And even when I was in the street, I never forgot that book because I knew I was going through a phase, and I just hoped I would live long enough to get to the next phase. And unfortunately, so many, you know, little brothers, man, they going through a phase, but, you know, like Ice Cube said, before they can grow up, they on the front page. And, you know, that's the thing. If one thing, a book, because a book has the power, you know, to take you places, it's unique in that, you know, like a book can just take you so many different places. You know, like I say, reading Malcolm X, I was in his experience. You know, never met him. You know, I say you got mentors up close and then you got mentors from afar. And reading Malcolm X, that was a form of mentorship. You know, Huey Newton, George Jackson, Franz Fanon, you know, all these different people, they were like mentors to me.
I remember I was 18 when I read the autobiography from Malcolm X, and that changed my whole aspect as far as, like you said, one, for me reading it made me think about how we as men, we all have to have something we're gonna stand up on that's worth dying for, right? And it taught me the importance of that. Like if you gonna live this life, you have to stand on something that you're willing to give your life for. And Malcolm X, as we all know, you know, he embodied that fully. And I recommend, like you said, I recommend every young man to read that book right there. And it don't matter if you're Muslim, Christian, or whoever. It's not the religion you need to focus on, it's the man himself.
Right.
So shout out for that. You know what? I got a whole like Google Drive. I'm probably to put it in the show notes for tonight. Like just books. I got As a Man Thinketh, Rich Dad Poor Dad, like essential mindset books. You know what I'm saying? That I literally think that all people should read, especially young Black men. You know what I'm saying, as a whole. So I'll put it in the show notes tonight. Thank you for reminding me of that. So I got a question for you, Cellini, man. You wrote 3 books in prisons, bro. That is, I wrote one, and I, you know what I'm saying, I had a restriction on me. Tell me, how do you structure it? You know what I'm saying? Because I know for me, it took me about, I don't know, about a year to write mine. You know what I'm saying? How did you structure writing your books, despite the limitation that you had?
Well, I had kind of like a schedule: get up, go work out in the morning, come back, take my shower, sit down and write. You know, that was my schedule. It was because when you creating, you in God mind. You know what I mean? Like, that's the ultimate creator. So when we made in his image. So when we creating, we in God mind. And, it's like it was my escape. Let me escape to this world, this other world that I create. And, because of how it's hard to find, avenues for creativity in there, I found myself addicted to it, man. Like it was a part of my daily routine. Some days you may write a sentence, other days you flowing, but I knew write something every day. And you look up and it came together. So that was my process with it. Just made sure I write something every day if it was just a sentence. Some days I might knock out 2 or 3 pages because you get in the flow. Yeah. But that was my thing. Just make sure I write something every day.
What was the process of actually getting published? Like, did you send it to somebody when they was home? Did you get with like a company while you was inside there? Like, what was that whole process?
I went through a Create Space because I self-published, right? And what I did, I had it was crazy. I was in Grafton, man. I was going through it with the typers, right? Like I was having dudes try to type. It was crazy, man. But then when they came out with those tablets, I just would type it on there and send it out. That just made it so much easier. I would type it on there, send it out. Create Space. You can cut and paste. So the JPEG, the tablet's doing the editing for real. So, I was just like, as soon as I sent out the email, they cut and paste to Create Space and, put it out there because like I say, I started my own thing, Stand Up Media. And that was big for me because I was trying to teach my son that, like be self-made, entrepreneur, ownership. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been in a place where we have trouble owning our own ideas. So I'm real big on ownership. So that's why I just like, I have people, a lot of dudes like, hey, they'll publish a book or they'll publish, but I was thinking long game because okay, I could send a book to this place, they give me 5,000. That may seem like a lot of money in here, but with ownership, I'm always in play. Like you never know who may get a hold of your book. And I wanted to own it. You know what I mean? Like, you sell it for 5,000, then they turn around and make, but you don't got no more control.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I said this in one of my books, is that power is having something that the white man won't, but the ability to hold on to it.
I might make a title to the episode.
That's a bar. That's a bar right there.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. That's a fact. But I think we've seen it too many times, like with artists when they publishing it, they don't have publishing, and then the record label got it, or just for instance, like you said, with books, people write books and they make a movie off it, make millions, millions upon millions. Like you said, ownership is key, man.
I know. Rick Ross is one of the ones like that with Snowfall. He was trying to go after him, like, hey, man, my cut at this is my story.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, hell yeah, bro. Yeah, he like, where my money at, man? I want my money. He was trying to come out the area. He wanted Rick Ross, like the real Rick Ross. He wanted Rick Ross too. Like, you using my name, like, bro, y'all got to get some type of cut off that, man. You can't be using my story, like this, my story, and y'all ain't giving me nothing. He doing good now, though. He out in, I think, Cali or somewhere growing. They said he got a couple weed farms, man.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things about why you said that blew my mind is the reason Cube haven't put another Friday out. He doesn't own it. And that blew my mind. That after what he went through with NWA, that he encountered the same situation in the movie game, but he doesn't own it. And the company just the studio keep turning down the scripts he turned in, and there's nothing he can do.
I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
I didn't either. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
I love the fact that once again, because you got the book, and then you doing the rap thing, man. And I think that's dope too, because you got stand up, like the Stand Up Media. That's a conglomerate of the books and the Okay.
And the books and the music. But the music I would did stand up to let, kind of differentiate from the books, which were wrote under Cellini, but, let you know it's still the same, and I knew so many. It began, my daughter had a beauty line called Pretty Bosses. So I had my people, I said, man, can you make a song called Pretty Bosses? Mm-hmm. So he made a song, and I got people got to talking to me, and they say, man, all these rappers, man, you could probably put an album out. Mm. So I see it was another mountain to climb, and I will buy beats. A couple producers just gave me beats, but I got on the phone, called people out west, got them on tracks, got a verse. It took me 2 years to do the album, Elevation. It took me 2 years, working the phone, sending tracks to people. And to me, that was my greatest accomplishment while I was in there, being able to get that out. Because like I say, I'm not a rapper. I'm not a producer. Yeah. And I just, to be able to, it was really my management skills to get all these people together in different cities and states and to come together for this one project. That was, and I didn't have to buy one verse. It was, I felt like that was my greatest accomplishment.
And I want the audience to miss that you did all this while in prison. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people who not, what I'm saying, don't have no limitation, and they haven't done half the stuff you've done, brother. So I just want to once again salute you for that, and I don't want people to miss that. Like, you did that all while, what I'm saying, having, these restrictions, and you accomplished more than most people done in a lifetime. So once again, bro, that is amazing.
Thank you.
How long have you been out now?
A little over a year. Yeah, a little over a year. Out here, it's evolved. Like I said, I got out. I was still doing things with the music, managing. I was working on I started the process because I wrote a screenplay probably like my last 60 days because I didn't have nothing to do, and I'm like, okay, I need something to do creative. So I wrote a screenplay, got out, looked at that, I got a clothing line that I'm working on.
But dope, by the way, I love the hats, by the way. I love the veteran hats.
Thank you. Yeah, I was I started off, like I say, I mean, it has evolved where it's like now I'm kind of shifting to, I wanted to bring about actual change. Yeah. And I started facilitating the reentry. I had a meeting a day earlier with some people. I'm just, and we doing this kind of in conjunction with Fred Ward, but with Akron, because Fred was in prison with a lot of dudes from Akron. Mm-hmm. And matter of fact, my partner Donovan, Fred gave him he came to prison Mansfield, he was 18. He said Fred gave him the first book he ever read. Mm. And so because really these problems are, they're not local. I mean, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. So what we doing, like I say, me, Ruel Saylor, Al Cleveland, Wall Street West, we all connected. I had Stoney even come down and talk at my reentry class. Like, we all trying to get the same thing done, and we just realized, like, we just, because we sincere about it. Yeah. One thing I've learned in that world, it's a racket. It's a lot of money to be made off Black dysfunction. Mm. So just like, what I was seeing in prison, like, they really don't want the prison population to go down. They really don't want, it's money made off of that. It's money made off crime rates and stuff like that. And it's kind of like a racket. And, we trying to work outside of that, because we've lived this. This is our truth. So we feel it a little different. Mm-hmm. And, we just approaching it a completely different way. Like, I had a meeting a little over a month ago, and the meeting was about youth violence prevention and funding. So I asked the lady, I said, well, what are you targeting? What age group? So she said 15 to 24. And I told her, I said, that's too old. I said, by the time, you 15, they on the path, they on the way.
Yeah.
I said, but she like, well, no, that's all they want. That's all they'll give us money for. And that's to say, if you want real change, listen to the people who've been in the trenches and let, but like I said, I got, that's not, they really don't want change for real.
When change comes, they losing jobs. Like you said,
exactly.
Like if the numbers going down, if many people going into these prisons and they stopping that from even going through that pipeline, you losing money all across the board. They don't want that to happen. So it's a capital. It's that money, man. It's that money. I know you had mentioned your daughter. What was fatherhood like? During that 19 years, like for them, like when you the whole transition, then you coming home to them.
When it was in there, I tried to stay engaged as much as possible. I remember I told a story. When I was in the hole in Lucasville, I tried to stab a guy, and I was in the hole with my mind set on when I got out the hole that I was gonna go and do it again and be successful. And while I was back there in the hole, my daughter was maybe 9 years old, and I got a letter from her, with the big hand right, how kids write, and it woke me up out of, you know what I mean? Because I was about to make a move that I would probably still be in there right now. And, it brought me back to, okay, I got people who believe in me, people who love me. And, I got to rise to the occasion. So, I always, they came to see me, I stayed in their life as much as possible. And then when I came home, one of the things I didn't understand is that they got to adjust to me being home. We talking about a situation where my daughter was 6 when I left, my son was 10. They've in essence lived their whole life without me. So I had to take in consideration that they trying to wrap their mind around what does me being back mean. So I say it's a work in progress. You know what I mean? But like I said, they love that, that love of, from them. That was a sustainer, while I was in there.
That's good. And I love how you said, I think most people don't recognize the fact of having, not empathy, but having the perspective of saying, let me put myself in someone else's shoes. I think not too many times as we as people, we are able to see things from our own perspective, but not from the perspective of others. And I love how you said, like, I realized, like, I had to look at things from their eyes. I don't think enough of us do that in business or in personal, you know what I'm saying? So I think talking to you, man, just makes me realize how, even for myself, man, I got to do some more mental health evaluations on myself. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't think enough of us do. And I know for me, like, listen to your story is like I got to do a little bit more soul searching in my own self. So thank you for that.
Right. I mean, we think sometimes we say mental health, we immediately, like I said, we think extreme, straitjacket, padded room. Yeah. Like, but when you say physical fitness, you don't think of it like that. So, like when you go to the gym, you might be like, I need to work on my shoulders some more. I need to do more legs. I need, you know what I mean? And it's the same way with mental health. I may need to work on my empathy. I may need to work on, my anxiety, or, you know what I mean? This, mild things that we, mental health issues that aren't as extreme, and just things that facilitate growth as men. Yeah. That's improving our mental health, because, just be honest. We under fire, we always been under fire. You know what I mean? Like, so we acknowledge this and realize, like, I say sometimes, I tell people all the time, when two dudes are playing chess and one guy watching the game, the guy watching the game sees more moves than the two dudes playing. And sometimes you know, because he got the bird's eye view. He's seeing the whole board.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to get the bird's eye view of ourselves.
Man.
You know, that's you know, sometimes we need that.
That's a clip right there. But thank you for that, Sling. I'm gonna use that right there. That's a clip.
Another one. Man.
Okay. My bad, Cam.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm saying we talked about the past, we talked about the present. I want to go into the future a little bit because with everything that you've done thus far, what's next up on your what's your next mountain per se, Cellini, man? What's next up? I know you said you wrote a screenplay, so next time I go to movies, I'm gonna see, you know what I'm saying, as executive producer, Cellini, Stand Up Cellini Productions or whatnot, right? What's your next mountain, man?
Well, you know, when you're cooking, you got 4 eyes on the stove, and you know, you turn the fire down on some, then some, you turn it up. You know, you got to work all 4 eyes.
Yeah.
To be honest, right now, my creative mountain that is next is the close. Now I do have a book about to be released. It's done. We probably we down to like the last 30 pages editing. But I'm gonna kind of do like the Beyonce style, just drop it, you know, not without a drum roll. I'm gonna do it like that. But the clothing is my next because the clothing game intrigues me because clothes is such a big part of our psyche in the Black community. Like, you know, clothes, like what you got on and labels and, you know, it's on steroids now, you know, like it always been like that.
Yeah.
You know, we've always been conscious of what we wear.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, so that just, you know, just intrigued me. I'm excited about that. And then like I say, on the other side, more social side is, you know, we getting into reentry housing. And we're in the process of that. And that's one of the things I want to make it financial. It's, you know, like a lot of reentry housing, they do AANA there, they do prayer service, things like that. And I'm not saying nothing wrong with that, but we're trying to take it to where it's a financial incubator. You come to this reentry house, we get you a decent job. You know, we hook you up, we show you how to get your credit together, get your bank account set up, you know. So when you leave the reentry house, you're on your feet. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, you know, let's take it there with it. You know what I mean? Let's get it where they leaving financially fit. So that's the model. We getting into the reentry. I'm real deep into that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, because it's something that's needed. Nobody's approaching it like that.
Yeah.
You know, nobody's approaching it like that. They typically approach it from somewhat of a sober house dynamic. You know what I mean? Like, and you know, I just said, okay, well, why these dudes in this house, you know, they learning how to get themselves together financially. You know, we can create business owners. Why they, you know, because we got them right there in the reentry house.
Yeah.
Why they in here? We could be creating entrepreneurs.
I don't want to cut you off. It's so crazy say that because I know we haven't talked, we haven't had nothing. I got a nonprofit that actually do that. And I talked to Brandon about that. You know, I'll be heavy into the real estate. I got a couple houses. One of them, I'm literally probably about 80% done with. It's going to be a transition house, but, you know, that's what my program offers. Like, we creating these jobs. You know, those are 3 things people need when they come home. Stable houses. You know, they don't want to, sometimes you go to places you don't want to be, or people don't even want to walk in there because it's like, bro, you an ex-felon, get out of my house, you ain't be no income in. So it's like, you need housing, you need reliable transportation, you know, to get back and forth to where you're going to. And then you need that job, that financial aspect of it. It's crazy you say that, man, because you definitely on the right wave, because that's what's missing, that gap, that bridge. They need to bring everything together. I do feel like a lot of our culture been put into these institutions where that gap was intentional. You know, they want to take our fathers out the household. They want to take our brothers or uncles, because if they not there, who gonna raise us? Everybody else. It's gonna be the schools. It's gonna be people who really don't want us to raise. It's gonna be a continuous cycle of us going inside these institutions. So you're absolutely right, man. I applaud you on that too. Definitely keep doing that shit, bro. You're going the right way, man.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely.
You know what I'm saying? I was going to say, I brought it together because it's just so happy, you know what I'm saying? It's the reason why I bring Cam on as special guest, you know what I'm saying, for tonight. So once again, we'll talk about afterwards or whatnot.
Right. Yeah, it's like I say, when you come down to the center, you know, that's one of the reasons I wanted you to come down, Brandon. So they can get, we got 40 or 50 people coming every week, and you got them, they at a reset. They all of them in the halfway house. You know what I mean? So they right there, they got a chance to kind of make a pivot or redirect. And my thing is get them information. Get them information like, it's so much they're not even aware of that they can do.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, how the Army had dropped the supplies down, and it's like the money is getting caught in the trees, and then you just got a little bit trickling down to the ground to the people who really need it. That's what, I'm trying to attack. Me and the brothers, man, where we trying to attack that, we trying to get it where it get down to the people.
Yeah. That's dope, man. That's dope.
Dope, man.
So, okay, we talked about that. So once again, I want you to understand, Cellini's our very first Zoom. Y'all know how typically on the pull-up we have, so in-person interviews, but Cellini's our very first Zoom meeting. So in honor to him being our first, I also got our first new stable question I want to ask everybody. So everyone knows one of the reasons why we created the pull-up experience, because we know in Cleveland and now Akron, this is the whole northeastern Ohio, the stigma is we don't support each other, nor do we, come together for any great causes, right? And once again, we're trying to change that stigma. My question to you, Cellini, what do you think will need to happen for us to have to be able to remove that stigma or be able to come together for the sake of, once again, for Cleveland / Akron or whatnot?
I think that because it is a monkey see, monkey do type of society. If they see more of us doing it, then they'll follow suit, because then it becomes trendy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so when they see us working together, like I say, what we do, me and L and Wes and Cleve and all of us,
shout out to L, man. Shout out to L.
Yeah, we connect. You know what I mean? Like, and even how once I identify what you doing, I said, hold on. I connected people in my city, entrepreneurs. I said, hey, I got some people, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because that's what you do. That's, that's contrast. That's the power of contrast. Okay, if everybody want to be self-serving and, on their own agenda, I'm going to provide the contrast. I'm going to connect the dots for, without, a selfish agenda behind it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I understand the power of the unseen. By doing this, I will get blessed. Yeah. You know what I mean? But people can't see past what, they can't, if they can't see it, they don't believe it. I understand the power of universal law. And so I know that when I do this, when I connect people and give people exposure, or, bring people together, I know that the blessing is real that come from that. And when they see more of us doing that, it becomes trendy, and then they'll fall in line.
That's a great answer right there, Cellini, man. Thank you for that, by the way. Now, I honestly do believe it. I do honestly believe that, because, you have everyone talked about how Atlanta, you know what I'm saying, you go to New York, you go to California, certain parts of California, you go all over the United States, and it's, you know what I'm saying, you see it, and there's no reason why we can't do it here in the city, man. I think, like you said, if we do enough of it, it becomes trendy. People have no choice but to fall in line, though, bro. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's I was just having a talk with a brother about Atlanta, and historically, one of the pivotal thing that happened in Atlanta was back when they was building the airport, and the mayor Maynard Jackson, he did, the population was like 40% of Atlanta was black. The population was black. He put in there that 40% of the contracts had to go to black businesses. And that began that process, that money, from that airport, that started the process of that funneling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but one of the things that the difference with the North, I read a book called The Devil You Know, and a Black Power Manifesto. And the guy wrote the book, he said his theory is that we should all move back to the South, right? He said, because then we would have at least 12 senators, this, and he gave, but he talked about the North. And it took me back to what Martin Luther King said about the North. And the North, in essence, was more racist than the South. It was more insidious because you couldn't see it. So if you look at when the political system in the North, was kind of more based, it was, it was a machine. It was crooked. So, a lot of people up our way, when our people up here got in positions, it's embezzling going on, it's kickbacks, it just was different than what you saw in the South.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that is that is an issue that we have. Like I said, it's just up north, the culture was different. Because I think being under that pressure they had in the South, it made them stick together. They had a culture of sticking together. And then we had the illusion that we was free up here. So, we really was tricked into thinking, but we really was in a worse situation than they were down here.
That's wild. You know what? I'm gonna use that clip right there too, because I don't think I didn't know that. I mean, the fact that you said it's more racist up here, and I hadn't thought about it because it was more covert. It wasn't blatant down south, and that makes a lot more sense. Wow, that makes sense.
Yeah, it's on that note, I had read a book in my history class in college. A guy, he was from France. France sent him to America in the 1840s to write about America, to study America. And in the book, I'm gonna get the name. I remember how to spell his name. I just can't pronounce it. I'm gonna text it to you. Okay. But in the book, he said that in his travels through America, that it was more racist in the North than in the South. And this was before slavery ended, and he said.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Okay. So we got that. So my next question to you, Cellini, man, and I think we have an answer, but I want you to, because you know what? So I really ask everyone on the show. I asked Cam when he's on too. I asked everybody what they want their legacy to be, right? And the reason why I want to do that, because years down the road, when we go back and look at this episode, I'm like, dang, did what he said he's gonna do. You know what I'm saying? His legacy is this now. So, and like same thing for you. What do you want your legacy to be? You know what I'm saying, for you yourself, but then what your legacy be for your, you know what I'm saying, for your businesses, for the things that you accomplish or whatnot.
Well, for myself, I want my legacy to be really a testament to the power of God. His ability to take somebody who was in complete darkness and transform them. The same way, the same hands that built the Pharaoh's treasure houses. When they got over out of Egypt, they built the tabernacle. And, I want my legacy to be his power, because, that's really, I was dark, I was 10 toes in the street. Yeah. And his ability, I'm just a testament to that, to change. Business-wise, I want my legacy to be somebody who continue climbing different mountains, who left an imprint on every field he got in. Who left an imprint, because I'm never gonna stop climbing mountains. I say I got things I think about, I want to do 10 years from now, 15 years, I want that to be where I was always fluid enough to move into different spaces and be successful at it.
That's dope, man. I like that, because I man, like, in the time I've got to know you, Cellini, man, and once again, I didn't even know half stuff. I knew about some of the things you did, but I didn't know half the things you did, bro. You inspire me, you know what I'm saying? Because once again, I'm like, I'm not going hard enough. I need to go even harder, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you, man. And I think that we all need, I remember someone said this dope quote. They said, you guys your mindset, because we need somebody, you need someone to encourage you, you need somebody to inspire you, you need somebody to hold you accountable, right? And we as people, we need those three things. And you know, you gotta push aside your ego, you gotta put aside your pride, because easily that inspiration can turn to jealousy real fast. That certain things can turn into you know, into the adverse things. But once again, like I said, back to the inspiration part, like I said, you just showed me what's possible. And once again, I have no excuse. None of us on this podcast who are watching this have an excuse as to why we're not reaching our full potential. Because once again, Cellini has shown us that is the only thing holding back is you, you know. So shout out to you, man. And one last thing before we get going, because I know, you know what I'm saying, everyone's a busy people and whatnot, and I appreciate y'all once again taking our time tonight. Because y'all don't notice, one of the great things about our podcast now, that our podcast will be these episodes will be shown to the classes, especially to classes in the schools who are showing entrepreneurship. And one of the things that I've been telling everybody, our podcast, we want to do three things. We want to empower, we want to educate, and we want to inspire. So with that being said, what are three things you want a kid who's watching this right now to take away from tonight's episode?
Number one, there's life after death. Number two, everything you need is already inside you. And number three is that you are a child of God. You blessed.
Those are all good ones, Cellini, man. Wait, so you gotta break down death, because I know someone's probably like, oh, I gotta die in order to live. No, you gotta break it down for some people who are watching this. They're like, I gotta actually die.
You know, well, the role has to die. You know, the role that we've been given, it has to die. You know, so you can live. You know what I'm saying? You can't, you know, I tell people, you know, you everybody say they love themselves, right? But how can you love somebody you don't know?
Listen, y'all. Y'all know I always got the bomb dropper. I promise y'all, in 2023, I'm gonna have a bomb dropper for episode. That was a whole that was worth entry right there. That was worth entry right there. Man. You said, how can I love myself? I don't even know. Man, that's deep. That's deep. That's deep, Cellini, man. Whew. All right, okay. So, Cellini, man, tell everybody. I'm sorry. You got anything you would like to tell the audience before we leave out, man?
Oh man, be on the lookout for my next book. Just stay, check out my page. I'm on Instagram, Stand Up Cellini. I'm always dropping fruit on there, putting fruit on there. Things that get you through the day, make you think. And just be more positive. Believe in yourself. The light's stronger than the dark. Just believe in that, and walk with the light, and you will be blessed.
And by the way, guys, I will have Cellini's Instagram, the where you can purchase his books. I'll have links to all that in the show notes, so you guys don't have to go search around. Be on tonight's show notes. So, man, Cellini, man, once again, bro. Every time I talk to you, man, I appreciate you, man. And I appreciate the fact that over this time, man, able to get a chance to get to know you, man. It's been a real honor, man.
Thank you. I feel the same, bro. You don't know how much you inspire me, the way you give up the information, and that ain't, people, they so, like I said, a lot of people are selfish with the information.
Oh, the tight.
You always dropping the jewels, man. You always giving it up. Like, here, this is what y'all need, man. And that is beautiful, man. I also, Cam, man, I want you to come down too, to the Reentry Center, and, tell them your story, and drop some jewels on them as far as the real estate and stuff. So, I want both of y'all, with Brandon coming on the 20th, man, I might have to get with you so I can lock it in, man, and you come through there too.
I most definitely. I'm gonna follow you. Reach out to me, man, or I'll give you my number. It make a difference. I'll definitely come out, man. I love doing that, man.
For sure.
No, once again, I appreciate our brothers, man. Once again, this is a powerful episode, guys. And I just love, once again, how this is a testament to, once again, what we can do when we come together, y'all. So episode 83, y'all. And once again, our first Zoom episode, y'all. I appreciate this, man, because this is uncharted territory for us or whatnot. But I think it went well. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to thank you once again, guys. Episode 83, man. Listen, guys, I want to thank the audience once again, guys. Thank y'all once again for coming out every week and supporting this podcast. This is once again showing that one, there's love inside Cleveland. Two, y'all getting value from what the people, from what our guests are saying to y'all. And thirdly, that we're being consistent. What can happen when you're consistent. Cam blessed me. He didn't even know he blessed me. When I talked the other day, man, he was like, man, y'all doing it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all keep dropping episodes at time again. And I think about what you said, I'm like, I'm just doing it. You know what I'm saying? Not realizing the impact it has. And I just want to encourage anybody who has started something and they haven't, you know what I'm saying, haven't seen the fruits of your labor, keep doing it.
Keep doing it.
Keep pushing. Because you know who's watching, you know. So once again, guys, I want to thank y'all once again for coming out. And we'll see y'all next time, y'all. Peace.
Peace.